Let me provide some context. We've been in a relationship for nearly 17 years. Throughout our time together, we've had 3 children and have been working on restoring our old house for the past 2 years. Our financial situation is challenging, with no savings and a significant amount of debt. She's the only woman I've ever been with, and before me, she had only a few casual encounters. So we both had limited experience when we first met. She has been the most important person in my life, and we faced numerous challenges together. I always believed that we were one of the rare couples who could weather any storm. Unfortunately, it seems that my assumption was incorrect with everything that was happening, as we were fixing up the house and juggling our full-time jobs to make ends meet and ensure the kids were okay. We sort of lost ourselves along the way. The financial struggles and health issues only added to our troubles. My wife had been attempting to shed some pounds for a while, but no method seemed to be effective, and it took a toll on her self-confidence. We were both feeling down, yet instead of communicating and comforting each other, we suffered silently. I found solace in computer games, using them as an escape from our problems, while she was constantly engrossed in her phone. Things took a turn for the worse this spring and summer. She started spending more time with her friends and going out to parties, leaving me at home with the kids. I hoped that giving her some space to let off some steam would improve her mood when she returned home, but unfortunately, that strategy didn't work at all. I couldn't shake off the unsettling feeling creeping into my gut. There had been whispers going around that she was spotted locking lips with some guy at a dance in a neighboring town. I confronted her about it, but she denied it and claimed that the guy had made a move on her, but she pushed him away. I wasn't completely convinced, but I didn't want to press her too hard because I wanted to show her that I trusted her. However, as the summer went on, I noticed she became increasingly guarded and secretive about her phone. By sheer chance, on the night of August 22nd, I stumbled upon her Facebook password and decided to take a peek, hoping to find some information about that dance from earlier in the summer. What I discovered was far worse than I anticipated. I witnessed the undeniable truth that she had indeed engaged in a sloppy, drunken makeout session with some guy until her friend intervened. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. I managed to access her Messenger and Skype accounts, and what I discovered next was mind-blowing. Turns out, she had been engaging in online conversations with 2 foreign guys, let's call them A and B, for several months. It all started innocently enough on Instagram, where this random dude, A, began showering her with flattering messages. From there, they started chatting on Skype in early June. Shockingly, after only a couple of weeks of talking, she caved in and began sharing photos with him, despite some initial resistance. The incident with the guy she kissed took place later that same month. She continued chatting with Guy A until mid-August, when his true intentions were revealed. He turned out to be a scammer with a stolen account, using pictures from that pilfered profile to deceive her. She had been foolish enough to share candid pictures of herself with him, and it seemed like she was falling head over heels for him. Meanwhile, she had also started talking to Guy B, which also began through Instagram. It didn't take long for their conversations to escalate into exchanging pictures and engaging in explicit talk. In both cases, they were fantasizing about coming to our country and meeting my wife at a hotel. Strangely enough, she never spoke negatively about me or anything like that, but rather talked about me as if I were just a background presence. If they inquired, she would mention that I treated her well, but then she would go on to express how much she enjoyed talking to them and how they made her feel good. The worst part is yet to come. In one of her chats with a female friend, I stumbled upon even more disturbing information. They had gone together to a 2-day town festival in another nearby town in early July and had stayed in a rented room. Of course, I had agreed to it and thought it would be fine. I was aware that my wife's friend, who struggles with panic attacks, needed to stay overnight at the local hospital. However, what I wasn't aware of but discovered in that chat was that she brought up a 41-year-old guy, let's call him C, from our own town. This guy C was married with kids, but unhappy in his relationship. Apparently my wife had met him that night, and he had approached her for a conversation, but then tried to take things further. According to what my wife told her friend, she managed to stop him. She didn't mention his name, but I had a strong suspicion about who it could be, considering our small town. Moreover, when I checked my online phone records, I found a message sent to a number that matched the description of this guy. I started to fear the worst. I didn't reveal to my wife what I had discovered just yet because I was worried about the potential impact on our kids. So I put on a facade and waited until Saturday, August 24th, to confront her. I reached out to my mother and asked her to look after the kids. My wife is currently taking some classes to further her career, and when she returned home from class, I calmly asked her to sit down with me. I then proceeded to share with her what I had learned. Our conversation was devoid of shouting or insults. It was just two sorrowful individuals, one angry and hurt, engaging in an honest discussion throughout the entire night. She assured me that nothing had occurred between her and C, and her online activities were merely an attempt to boost her self-esteem because she believed I had stopped loving her. She didn't directly point fingers at me, nor did she yell at me for snooping around. Instead, she shared that she believed I had lost interest in her because she wasn't losing weight. When those guys showered her with compliments, she admitted getting carried away by their attention. She didn't intend to hurt me, but her actions were driven by selfishness as she sought their approval, even to the extent of sending them revealing pictures. She acknowledged that she now realized she had been cheating on me. Although she hadn't fully recognized it at the time she was engaged in those behaviors, despite knowing they were wrong, I genuinely wanted to trust her and give our marriage another chance. We made the decision to work on fixing our relationship and sought counseling. As the weeks went by, it seemed like things were improving. She's been showing me a lot more affection and care lately. Our bed life has been great, and we're spending much more time together than we used to. However, despite these positive changes, I couldn't shake off the growing feeling in my gut that she was keeping something important from me. Last week, during our second session with the marriage counselor, she finally confessed the truth. It was something I had suspected and feared, but desperately hoped hadn't actually happened. She admitted that she did sleep with C on that night in July, even though she claimed to have felt remorse and shame afterwards. She continued to communicate with him through social media. She confessed to meeting up with him twice after that, but she assured me it didn't go beyond some kissing. What's even more disheartening is that she tried reaching out to him again just a few days after our confrontation in August. When she confessed, my initial reaction was complete shock. I didn't raise my voice or unleash a stream of curses. I didn't harm her in any way. Part of me felt a strange sense of relief that she had finally owned up to what I had suspected. But at the same time, I felt utterly humiliated and hurt like never before. I didn't want to rush into any hasty decisions, so I haven't thrown the ring in her face or confronted the other guy. I don't want to be the one to expose him to his wife or put myself in a situation where I could get into legal trouble. Besides, it's not him who broke the vows of our marriage, it's my wife. I'm at a loss as to what to believe anymore. The woman I thought I knew would never stoop to something like this. She's been trying to convince me that she acted foolishly and selfishly, expressing remorse for the pain she caused me. She insists she's willing to do anything to fix the situation, regain my trust, and prove that she's deserving of it once again. To be honest, I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to trust her again or look at her the same way. I want to make this work mainly for the sake of our kids and our difficult financial circumstances. Going through a divorce is something we can't afford right now, but I'm afraid that by staying in this situation, I'll lose my sense of self and never regain any self-respect. After receiving enough encouragement, I mustered up some self-confidence. I finally faced the truth that deep down, that there was no chance in hell that I would ever gonna get over what my wife did. So I decided to tell her I wanted to end this marriage. I think she saw it coming because she didn't appear all that surprised. She didn't even attempt to change my mind or anything. It was like a broken record playing when I asked her to say something, as she kept repeating, "Nothing I say will make a difference." There were lots of tears, and she even called in sick to work. Since then, we've been informing our closest friends and family about the impending divorce, but she has been extremely hesitant to admit her actions to her own parents. My mother is aware of everything, but for some reason, I agreed not to disclose the truth to my in-laws just yet. Maybe I'm afraid of a confrontation between my soon-to-be ex-wife and myself, so I agreed to give her time to tell them herself. When we met with them last Sunday, we informed them about the divorce. However, since we had to leave our 2 kids with them for 3 days due to the school holiday, it didn't feel like the right time to confess about their daughter's multiple affairs. Instead, we informed them that we had unresolvable disagreements, which was really tough for me to say because they looked so disappointed. They've been part of my family for nearly 17 years, and I genuinely care about them. They've been incredibly supportive over the years, both financially and in their love for our kids. Lying to them felt awful, but I'm worried that if I spill the truth, my soon-to-be ex-wife will become hostile and complicate the divorce process even further. However, my patience does have its limits. If my wife doesn't come clean soon, I'll eventually have to tell them myself. I also don't want the real reasons behind the divorce to become public knowledge. We live in a small community, and I feared that the truth would eventually reach my kids who might face teasing or bullying because of it. I'd prefer to keep the truth confined to our closest friends and family, while the official explanation would be that we grew apart and wanted different things. I definitely don't want to be known as the poor guy whose wife cheated on him. There are some major tasks ahead that need to be taken care of. We have to sell our house and find separate apartments for ourselves. When it comes to custody, we've agreed on a shared arrangement where I'll have the kids for 1 week, and their mother will have them for the following week. However, I strongly believe that their legal address should be with me, so I won't have to pay her child support. It just wouldn't be fair considering what she did. I have no clue how this will ultimately play out, but in my experience, mothers tend to get the upper hand in these situations. People always sympathize with them. Nevertheless, I'm determined to fight for my kids. Second story. We were married for 16 years, and our marriage was filled with toxicity. We both made mistakes in the early years, but we apologized and decided to stick together and figure things out. I met her shortly after she moved back to our hometown. We worked together for a brief period, and during that time, she was dating a colleague. Unfortunately, she got pregnant by him because she wasn't being careful. She was also dealing with drinking and pill issues. After she had the baby boy, we started dating almost right away. When the baby was 3 months old, she moved in with me. I knew deep down that I wanted to be with her and raise our family together. I believed in us. Around the same time, we found out that our son was autistic, and she was also pregnant with our first daughter. It was challenging being young parents with 2 little ones, but we were determined to make it work. However, our actions and behaviors were not supportive of each other, as is often the case in toxic relationships. 2 more years went by, and we welcomed another baby girl into our family. Throughout all these pregnancies, she was supposed to be on birth control, but she wasn't. She lied about a lot of things. Then 7 years later, we had another baby girl. This time, things were done differently. She chose to have a home birth, and I was fully involved. I even sat in the tub with her. It was an incredibly powerful experience, but despite these moments, there were always questionable decisions made by her. We started having issues, and it felt like we were stuck in a repetitive cycle. She became less affectionate and distant toward me. Then, out of nowhere, as I was cuddling with her, she dropped a bombshell. She claimed she had given too much of herself to me and the kids. I was taken aback and asked her to clarify. She brushed it off, pretending like I had misheard, but then she dropped another bomb. She confessed that she only loved me as a friend. It shattered me. Internally, I began questioning myself. What did I do wrong? How did I mess up? I was devastated. She quickly backpedaled and placed the blame on herself, saying that she needed to fix herself in order to be better for our family. She eventually decided to seek prescriptions for antidepressants and anxiety medication. To be honest, she's a mess, with a terrible history when it comes to relationships and such. As we talked, I started taking a closer look at myself first, and then observed her actions. They say actions speak louder than words, and that's something I truly believe in. So I made a firm commitment to work on myself and make things better for both of us. I wanted to be a better husband, lover, and father. Little did I know she had reconnected with an old friend from years ago, and they had become close once again. And yes, you guessed it, this friend was a guy. He came to visit and even met our kids. That's when things took a really strange turn. She was driving and ended up crashing our minivan, totally wrecked it by rear-ending a Prius. Can you believe it? Rear-ending a Prius and totaling our van. They drove away without any major consequences. The police officer gave her a lucky break and didn't give her a ticket for following too closely. Then about a month later, we got another van, and she managed to wreck that one too, and once again it was her fault. At this point, I became extremely concerned about her ability to drive safely with our kids in the car. Even our 12-year-old daughter didn't feel comfortable riding with her anymore. Over time, she managed to reconnect with a daughter from a previous marriage whom she had lost contact with. Curious how that happened. Well, here's the story. She was married before me, had a child, and ended up leaving them. Eventually, the divorce took place, and her ex-husband set some conditions for her to seek help and counseling. But guess what? She never followed through on that. As she started communicating with her child, it also led to more frequent conversations with her ex. Emotions resurfaced, and things became quite complicated. Meanwhile, I found myself in a challenging position, trying to support her desire to visit her child whom she hadn't seen in 17 years, all while juggling the responsibilities of taking care of our 4 kids and dealing with tight finances. In an effort to raise funds for the trip, she started a GoFundMe campaign, which managed to raise $1,300. My family even chipped in an additional $1,000. However, I later discovered that she had neglected to follow up on the necessary paperwork to maintain our monthly food assistance for about 3 months. She let all of that slide while I trusted her when she assured me that everything was taken care of. Yet there was only $2.43 left in that account. I discovered all of this while she was away visiting her child in another state, supposedly by herself. But, as it turns out, she wasn't alone at all. It turns out she brought along her new boyfriend, who I had believed was just an old friend. And to top it off, they had been intimate in my own house, on my own bed. How lovely! When she returned from her visit, she shocked me. She said that she wanted a divorce. I still couldn't fully grasp what was happening. Then she casually mentioned that she was planning to move in with her ex-partner in another state. Wait a minute, what about the kids? So she just left. She left the kids. She left all of her belongings. She simply abandoned everything. And to make matters worse, she accused me of being a narcissist who emotionally hurt her. I'm no narcissist, but I'll admit we both had our fair share of emotional baggage that affected us both. Later on, I discovered that the so-called boyfriend was also dumped by her once she returned to town. He took the opportunity to spill all the juicy details of their hidden year-long affair, even providing me with incriminating pictures. What OPOS! He even had the audacity to try and blackmail me in order to reach my kids. In hindsight, I should have seen it coming when I witnessed her giving up on reaching out to her own abandoned child. Now, she's living in another state with her ex-husband and the child she left behind 17 years ago. We managed to come to a parenting agreement, but I made sure to insist on psychological evaluations. So far, she's made only one attempt to see the kids in the past 6 months, and she hasn't paid a dime in child support. Our kids range in age from 17 to 7, so they have a good understanding of what's going on. One of them even remarked, "Mom chose her new family over us." And another asked why she takes other kids to school, but not her own. That really stung. So here I am, a single dad, raising 4 kiddos on my own. I was always the one playing the role of Mr. Mom anyways. I was always the one responsible for getting the kids ready for school, preparing their lunches, giving them rides, and even when I trusted her to handle it, I still ended up doing it myself. There were even times when I got them ready and left for work, only to find out later that she had fallen back asleep and the kids ended up being late for school. I couldn't help but wonder if her drinking or the medication she was taking affected her like that. But honestly, I think it's just her being unreliable. To make matters worse, she ended up sleeping with all 3 of us under the same roof for over a month. And to top it off, she knowingly exposed me to hepatitis C. Not only did she abandon her child 17 years ago, but she repeated that behavior later in life by neglecting the 4 kids we have together.